The Belizean National Prayer. Almighty and eternal God, who through Jesus Christ has revealed your glory to all nations, please protect and preserve Belize, our beloved country. God of might, wisdom, and justice, please assist our Belizean government and people with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude. Let the light of your divine wisdom direct their plans and endeavors, so that with your help we may attain our just objectives. With your guidance, may all of our endeavors tend to peace, social justice, liberty, national happiness, the increase of industry, sobriety, and useful knowledge. We pray, O God of mercy, for all of us, that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your most holy law, that we may be preserved in union and in that peace which the world itself cannot give. And after enjoying the blessings of this life, please admit us, dear Lord, to that eternal reward that you have prepared for those who love you. Amen.
Motion relating to the business or the sitting of the Senate.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, I move that at its rising today, the Senate adjourn to a date to be fixed by the President.
All those in favor? Honorable members, the question is that at its rising today, the Senate adjourn to a date to be fixed by the President. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Public business, government business, motion.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards was adopted by the United Nations Diplomatic Conference on the 10th June 1958 and entered into force on the 7th June 1959. And whereas the objective of the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards is to require courts of contracting states to give effect to private agreements to arbitrate and to recognize and enforce arbitration awards made in other contracting states. And whereas in 1980, prior to independence, the then legislature amended the Arbitration Act to add Part 3 and the 4th Schedule, which set out the convention in total, with the express intention to give effect to the New York Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards. And whereas the New York Convention has been ratified by the United Kingdom on the 24th September 1975 and made applicable to Belize by notice of territorial application in the form of a declaration by the United Kingdom, which was received by the Secretary General of the United Nations on 26 November 1980, some 6 weeks after the enactment of the 1980 ordinance. And whereas since 1980 the convention has been a part of the laws of Belize, but it has never been ratified by Belize, and whereas the government is desirous of completing the formalities by ratifying the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards pursuant to Article 8 of the Convention, and whereas Section 61A(2)(a) of the Belize government, as amended by the Belize Constitution, 6th Amendment Act No. 13 of 2008, provides that the Senate shall authorize the ratification of any treaty by the government of Belize. Now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the United Nations Convention on the Recognition, Enforcement, and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards, a full text of which is hereto annexed. Madam President, on opening the debate on this issue, there are a few important points that I would like to highlight and to address some of the issues which I understand has been in the public domain. The first point, Madam President, to make clear to this Honorable Senate is that the New York Convention, which we seek permission of the Senate to ratify, is and has been the law of Belize since 1980. More than 40 years ago. It has been the law of this country. In fact, it was the law of this country prior to independence. Madam President, it is therefore important for us to appreciate that all that is left now is the formal act of ratification. This is not something new. It is completing the legal and formal requirements for Belize to become an actual party to the convention. The second point I'd like to address, Madam President, is the question of why and why now. I make clear, I state as a fact, without the possibility of contradiction, that the matter is brought before the Senate today because the government of Belize is in the process of negotiating a debt instrument with counterparties, one condition of which is the ratification.
Keep the talking down. Please proceed.
The ratification of the New York Convention. Madam President, members of the Senate, that negotiation is something that began with the United Democratic Party administration, inherited by the current administration, which we perceive that if it is concluded, is in the public interest. This is not something that started with the current administration. It is something that predated our coming to office. Madam President and members of the Senate, I would prefer not to go into the details of what is being negotiated. I would prefer not to name the parties involved because the negotiations are at a stage where they have not been concluded, and I am hoping that in the interests of Belize, politics does not interfere with the concluding of something that began with the previous government that we are seeking to conclude now. The fact of the matter is, Madam President, the current administration inherited a debt crisis. And it is important to put in context where we are. The fact of the matter is, Madam President, and if you go back to 1998 when the People's United Party was then brought into government, the public debt stood at $560 million. When the United Democratic Party came to power in 2008, 10 years later, it stood at $2 billion. Approximate addition of $1.5 billion. The debt stock today is more than $4.2 billion. More than $4.2 billion. The debt to GDP ratio is approximately 135%. Best practice, 60 to 65%. We are double that, more than double that. The domestic debt owed by the government of Belize to banks in Belize, and to the central bank, Madam President, moved from $300 million in 2008 to $1.3 billion today. The simple point I seek to make is that regardless of whether you say the PUP or the UDP, these facts are the objective facts that we as a nation are confronted with. The negotiations that we are involved in, which were begun, I repeat, which were begun under the previous administration, is designed to address the urgent crisis that this government faces, that this country faces in meeting its debt obligation. I repeat, we are here now because the negotiations are at the point where the counterparties are saying there was an obligation to ratify. We need it for this transaction to move forward. I think it is important for me, Madam President, to underscore for those who are listening that we are facing a fiscal deficit of such an amount that we are unable, on the current path, to pay our obligations as they come due. It requires debt relief. That is what we're engaged in. I want to emphasize that the New York Convention is a part of the law of Belize and has been a part of the law, as I said, since 1980. What is important, Madam President, in my respectful view, is to see what it is that the Caribbean Court of Justice has had to say on this matter. In 2013, Madam President, the question arose whether or not, since Belize had not ratified the convention, it was applicable. The case went all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice. I read from a judgment of the Caribbean Court of Justice dated the 26th July 2013, paragraph 65. The court said, with your permission, Madam President, on the 10th October 1980, during the era of self-government, but before attaining independence, the Belize legislature enacted the Arbitration Amendment Ordinance, which came into effect on the same day, 10th October 1980. By the 1980 ordinance, the legislature added Part 3, Sections 25 to 30, and the fourth schedule titled the New York Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards to the Arbitration Ordinance of 1932. The actual Arbitration Act of Belize came into force in 1932. We have a history of arbitration law in this country. The CCJ continues. The 1980 ordinance was expressed to be, quote, an ordinance to amend the Arbitration Ordinance, Chapter 13 of the laws to give effect to the New York Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards. The New York Convention had been ratified by the United Kingdom on the 24th of September 1975. We're still a colony, and made applicable to Belize by notice of territorial application in the form of a declaration by the United Kingdom, which was received by the Secretary General of the United Nations on the 26th November 1980, some 6 weeks after enactment of the ordinance. The CCJ, the highest court of Belize in 2013, settled as a matter of law that the Arbitration Act was amended in 1980 to give effect to the New York Convention and to make it a part of the law of Belize, notwithstanding the fact that the formality of ratification had not been completed. So the question, Madam President, of whether the New York Convention is a part of the law of Belize is no longer open to discussion or debate by anyone. It has been settled by the highest court of this country. Madam President, I wish now to turn to another issue that appears to be of concern. And this is the question of arbitral awards already issued against the government of Belize, and whether or not they will be covered or there is some benefit to be gained by the ratification of the New York Convention. I checked with the Financial Secretary yesterday. Financial Secretary confirmed to me that there are 3 awards. 3 out there. The first award was the subject of a CCJ case. The Caribbean Court of Justice held that it would be contrary to public policy for that award to be enforced in Belize. It means that it cannot be enforced in Belize. That award was taken to the United States of America, where the United States courts recognized the award and said it could be enforced. However, up to today, there has been no enforcement of the award for the simple reason that there are no assets of Belize that can be attached. The second award that the Financial Secretary spoke to was the award that is known as the UHS case. That matter was litigated, Madam President and members of the Senate, and the Caribbean Court of Justice in 2017, 22nd of November 2017, made an order and said that that award can be enforced in Belize. So the case in relation to that is finished. It's just a matter of when and if there will be collection on that award. The third award is one in favor of a company called Belize Social Development Limited, which the Financial Secretary told me, I believe that it is more than an award of approximately 8 to 10 years old. I'm not sure of the date. But the point he made to me is there has never been any attempt to enforce that award. As I understand it from the Financial Secretary, those are the 3 awards And that is the status. One cannot be enforced in Belize by order of the CCJ. The second, by order of the CCJ, can be enforced in Belize. And the third, there has been no attempt to enforce that award. Madam President, against that background, against the status of the convention as held by the CCJ to be the law of Belize, I say to this Honorable Senate that the formality of ratification provides no legal benefit because it's already a part of the law of Belize. Nevertheless, the government has sought legal advice, and we have been advised that one step that can be taken, which will give an assurance, is when Belize ratifies, it enters a reservation. What does that mean? That Belize will say, we ratify this convention, but we reserve the position that it will have no retroactive effect. It will not apply, as far as Belize is concerned, to awards made prior to Belize's formal ratification. It is the intention of the government, Madam President, that if this Senate authorizes ratification, to enter a reservation as advised by international arbitration experts to the effect that Belize's ratification is on the basis that it will not have retroactive effect. I therefore emphasize, Madam President, that we are here today in order to take a step to address a national debt crisis. I emphasize, Madam President, that the New York Convention is already and has been a part of the law of this country for over 40 years. I emphasize, Madam President, that we are involved in delicate negotiations at this stage, which have not been concluded. One of the conditions for conclusion was the ratification of this convention. The United Democratic Party administration agreed to it. It did not do it. We are continuing those negotiations, and we are now doing that which they said they would do. Finally, I emphasize that on ratification, if authorized by this Honorable Senate, we will enter a reservation that we do so on the basis that it should not apply to awards already made. I conclude on this point, Madam President. I have had consultations with members of the Senate prior to today, seeking to address their concerns. I am aware that high-ranking government officials have also had consultations with members of the Senate, seeking to address their concerns. Madam President, I say with emphasis senators have been assured that this ratification has absolutely nothing to do with Michael Ashcroft and his companies. This, Madam President and members, is a resolution about debt management. It is about investment confidence. It is about the rule of law, and it is about sound diplomacy. And I hope, Madam President, that after debate, it will enjoy the support of the Senate. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Michael Purvey.
Thank you, Madam President. I may need 2 hours today, Madam President. Madam President.
This defines your time, Senator.
I heard Senator Courtney said that high-ranking government officials have been in contact with members of the Senate for consultation on this matter. I was never a balloon of self-importance, Madam President, but nobody consulted with me, and I'm the leader of the opposition in the Senate. Senators Salazar and Pitts have never mentioned to me, and we were in discussion on this matter up until this morning. Nobody has contacted Her Majesty's loyal opposition on this matter in terms of this motion. I just want to put that on record. So I don't know who those discussions were with, and I don't know the nature of those discussions, but all I can say is that nobody has had any discussions with us on this side, and that may be a part of the problem that we will have here today, Madam President. Because this government spoke about and was elected upon the basis of openness and transparency. And none of that has been extended to us by any high government official. Not on this side. Maybe to you, Senator Salas, but not to me. I saw you raise your hand. Not to me, not to any of us. Now, Madam President, indeed, when this matter first came to the public, I asked myself, why? Why do we need to ratify this convention, and why do we need to ratify it now? Because Senator Courtney, in listing and stating what the CCJ has said concerning the 40-year-old conviction, is absolutely correct. They have said that this is a part of the laws of Belize and is enforced without the convention. So then, my question naturally is, why the rush? If it's already a part of our laws, then why the rush to do it? Well, Senator Courtney has said, and it was said in a press release by the government yesterday, that this is so that talks can go along in a debt negotiation that is ultra secretive and ultra sensitive, which I don't understand, Madam President. I don't know what can be so ultra secretive and ultra sensitive that we as the opposition have not been invited to be a part of. I cannot imagine anything more ultra sensitive than the Guatemalan claim. And we are very much involved in that. So what can be so secretive about these debt talks that the opposition cannot be engaged, especially since we have developed relationships with our creditors after restructuring the bond twice. So I don't know what can be so secret about that that you can't tell us. But in any event, Madam President, this is where I don't get it. We have to come to this august body to ratify a convention before talks can even proceed. The government is not saying that debt negotiations have started. We have come to a deal that's favorable to Belize, and in order to finish this deal, we need to ratify this convention. We have to ratify this convention so we can continue to talk, which means then we are already conceding and we haven't gotten anything yet. So what if we ratify this convention and the talks, the debt negotiation falls flat? Then what? We would have ratified a convention for nothing that we don't need to ratify, according to Senator Courtney. Which begs another question. If this is just a formality, if this is not, and I don't want to misinterpret what he said or misrepresent what he said, but if this is something that technically by law, according to the CCJ, this ratification is not even something that we need, then why are the people who we are negotiating with insisting on it before we even proceed to any more talks? If it is not necessary, if the CCJ has pronounced it, then why is the ratification of this so important if it is something that you don't even need? These are questions that any reasonable person would have. These are questions that could be answered or explained if there was engagement with the opposition, but there isn't. So how can we know that? Madam President, just in the introduction, Senator Courtney said that once we pass this, then we could enter reservations to say that it will not be retroactive. Well, why do we need to do that again? If according to him, one of them is against public policy, and the other two, there has been no interest in collecting the money, then why do we have to take that very careful step to make sure it's not retroactive? And then another point is this: how can you ask us to ratify a convention, tell us there will be a reservation, but don't give us an idea of what that reservation will be, what it will say, so we can be satisfied as a Senate that once that ratification occurs, this will be the reservation that we'll be tabling, and we have a motion to include that reservation in the convention after we ratify it. Why don't we do that? That way we can come here and we can walk away from here today feeling safe that we have voted for something with a clear-cut reservation that will be a part of this convention going forward. But where is that? We don't have that. We just have to vote for this and hope that there will be a reservation that will cover us. Can't do that, Madam President. So, Madam President, Senator Courtney said that this has nothing to do with Michael Ashcroft. But, Madam President, the only arbitral awards that we have out there, I think it's more than a Freudian slip that I say arbitrary. The only arbitral awards we have out there are for companies that are associated with or belong to Michael Ashcroft. UHS, Michael Ashcroft. BCB Holdings, British Caribbean Bank, Michael Ashcroft. The other one, the Belize Social Development Limited, Michael Ashcroft. Together, you know how much we are indebted to these companies based on arbitration? Over $300 million. So what this does, what this ratification does, and the great Rabbi Dead would say, Madam President, you could holler Jerome. What this ratification does is pave the way for Michael Ashcroft to claim his monies gotten under arbitration. Senator Courtney said it clearly. There has been no attempt yet to get this money. Yet. So let's just say now. One may be cynical, and I'm not cynical, Madam President, but I'm just saying one may be cynical. We ratify this convention. It opens the door widely for Michael Ashcroft to skip the courts and just collect based on the treaty that we have ratified here today. And then the negotiation for debt conservation fails, which means we don't get a deal on our debt, and all we are stuck with is a convention that enables Michael Ashcroft to collect over $300 to $400 million that is owing to him. Madam President, these are the figures. We have, up to when we left office, Belize Social Development Limited, the amount we have owing to them is $211 million and change. Michael Ashcroft Company. BCB Holdings, $29 million. Michael Ashcroft Company. The UHS loan, the Belize Bank one, $147 million. Michael Ashcroft Company. How can the government say? How can the government say that this is not a treaty that will benefit or go towards Michael Ashcroft? How can the government say that? This motion would have been better named the Michael Ashcroft motion, because that is who this motion benefits, and only him. It benefits nobody else. And let me say something else. Madam President, there is this talk that the UDP did two things. That the UDP started this process before November 11. It's even in the PUP's press release yesterday. That is absolutely and utterly false. There were initial negotiations. We did commit to talk about it at some point in the future. But you know what was the problem, Madam President? We could not be convinced as to what was the connection between debt and conservation and arbitral awards. Where that come from? This debt restructuring that you're talking about, how does that benefit us if we enforce by ratification in this Senate awards that have been adjudicated against us? What on earth does that have to do with our debt? And I'll tell you another thing, Madam President. One of our debt holders, one of our creditors, is Michael Ashcroft. In addition, I'm talking about in addition to the arbitral awards, he holds about 17 to 18% of Belize's debt. And he's dying to get to 22%. Because once you get to 22%, Madam President, you hold the power, the veto power in what they call the collective action clause. It means that no restructuring can happen without Michael Ashcroft agreeing to it. So what he had come to us with is that he wanted to take these arbitral awards, add it to the super bond to make it one even bigger super bond, and then with that, he would have garnered more than the required 22%. So then he would, oh my goodness, he would literally own us. So all this does is facilitate that. All this does is make Michael Ashcroft, if you can imagine it, make him even more powerful, making him have even a stronger hand over us than he already does. Who in their right minds in this Senate can vote for that? Who can vote for that? This is not about Michael Ashcroft. The only person who has arbitral awards against us is Michael Ashcroft. So who, for who? If they're not for him, for who? You're telling us that we have to open the door for him so we can talk to somebody else about our debt? That's absolute nonsense. Nonsense, Madam President. And, Madam President, let me look at what the Prime Minister said 2 nights ago. He said, I will repeat again that this convention that we want to have passed in the Senate, this is what he said on Channel 5, to be ratified will have absolutely nothing to do with previous awards that have been passed against the government of Belize. But those are the only awards. We have been very careful and we got legal advice, just like what Senator Courtney said, that that cannot happen, and we have been assured that that cannot happen. The Prime Minister didn't talk anything about future reservations of the treaty, You look at the Prime Minister's conversation on Tuesday. His only position was that he has been assured that the treaty is not retroactive. It is only today that we are hearing officially in the Senate that there will be an attempt to get reservations. He is doing this, Madam President. We are doing some delicate negotiations with issues of some of the debt that we have, and to be able to address them, we need to pass this UN resolution so that we can be able to proceed. But we have been very careful, and we have been assured that this cannot be then used by any other persons who have any other case against the government of Belize of monies owed to them to be able to collect. Madam President, assured by who? Who has said that they will not collect on their debt? I don't know much about Michael Ashcroft, but what I do know is that there's no chance in hell he will walk away from $400 million. No chance in hell. And this convention opens the door for him to do it easy, easy, easy. Then you have to go to court. You have a treaty. You have a treaty. Because in one of the cases, there was a challenge to the validity of the treaty because it wasn't ratified. No, he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He has a clear pass. Better than sweetheart pass he have now. Clear pass to go and get his $400 million. And then, Madam President, this is what really gets me. If I refer to my notes, you know, Senator Bennett said the last time, when I told her to just do it, well, don't just do it. He said, that's crazy. Things can happen just like that. For Michael Ashcroft, it happens just like that. Or for him, it happens very, very, very quickly. You have so many issues on your hands that you use the time to come to this Senate for the ratification of a treaty that you yourself are saying is not necessary. So, when you look at crime, no economic plan, teachers not getting paid for their leave, all of those issues. You have one cruise company pumping millions into a project and you're entertaining two more. That will cause legal problems. You have, no, I'm bringing it to him. No, I'm bringing it to him. I'm bringing it to him, Madam President.
Convention.
I assured you I would never break the rules and I would never do that. Where is the $5 minimum wage? You have said that the country has no money. You have said that the country is broke. You have said that you need to find money, but you come to the Senate to ratify a convention that will make way for a man to take even more of our money. I'm not a finance person, but somebody has to explain that to me. Somebody has to explain to me how giving Michael Ashcroft his $400 million so easily will benefit Belize in a debt negotiation. Somebody has to explain that to me. Maybe that's why the talks are so secretive, because there must be some dynamite talks. And you're not involving any from the opposition, from the UDP party, who's a loyal opposition in this Senate. Not involving us in any of those talks. How can we have any confidence in what you're doing here? There's another issue I want to address. On the same issue, the same concept, Madam President, that payments were made towards these arbitral awards by the government, UDP government from before. And that is not true. What happened, and I will be very careful, I won't break the rules, Madam President. Justice Abel, notice I didn't say Abel, Abel, of distant memory and good riddance, against CCJ precedent, said that UHS, Belize Bank, could deduct their taxes from the UHS debt. So they have circumvented the no vote in the National Assembly and a judge, and the matter is under appeal, so I will say no more about that, Madam President. I hope the government goes ahead with that appeal. Pay very, very close attention. Because if the government doesn't appeal, and the appeal is abandoned, then Belize Bank will continue to take its taxes out of that UHS money, and he would have bypassed the vote of Parliament. Imagine that. Imagine that. That, Madam President, is absolutely not true. The UDP government did not pay any of these arbitral awards whilst we were in government, and we did not start the process of ratifying this convention in the Senate. That UHS award was paid as directed by the court, and that matter is under appeal. So what this government should do, instead of trying to ratify this convention to give Michael Ashcroft more power, fight the appeal, so at the very least, we can prevent him from collecting what Parliament has voted against, and put a stay to what we have to pay out of the taxes at this time. Madam President, what we have in front of us is a convention that says, and my friends will go into more detail, Article 3, each contracting state shall recognize arbitral awards as binding and enforce them in accordance with the rules of procedure of the territory where the award is relied upon under the conditions laid down in the following articles. Arbitral awards, when you ratify this, are binding except for reservations and exceptions. When you're dealing with a bloodsucker, I don't want to hear about reservations.
Let
I
us
want
be
that
careful of
exception to
language,
be-
Senator.
I take it back, Madam President. When you're dealing with a predator, I don't want reservations. I want that protection from going back, or all awards be put in the convention article itself. Why can't we put it in there? And say upon it coming into force, anything in the past will not be applicable. Madam President, for all those reasons, I say that this ratification is for the benefit and fun of Michael Ashcroft. This government is showing to the Belizean people that when it comes to him, they are prepared to do anything to make sure he gets what he wants. While the Belizean people have to be told that in 1 month they're not got no more food. This is wrong. This has only one intention, and I cannot support this motion. Thank you, Madam President.
I would like to make a few points.
Senators, we have Senator Salas. I recognize Senator Osmani Salas.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I do wish to make a few points on this resolution, this motion for a resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards. All right, Madam President, I listened intently just now to the two presentations that have been made. And one phrase came to my mind: how important it is to see and read with your own eyes and listen with your own ears. Don't just depend on what is verbally thrown out at you. How important it is to understand what we are talking about. And I do intend to refer to a couple sections of the convention because it is important for the Belizean public to know what some of these things, these sections are. My colleague before me referred to a segment of a particular article or section. And I wish he had continued with the rest of the article because that is probably even more important, and a couple others that I will refer to. But what struck me in the previous presentations is how much money we owe. When we add the foreign and domestic debt, we owe about $5,500 million. $5.5 billion with a B. I'll repeat it again in millions. $5,500 million. Debt to GDP ratio has ballooned to an unsustainable 135%, and it's continuing to go up. So why I repeat those figures is that, especially because of the situation in which we are facing, we it is the obligation of government, whichever party is in power, to get as creative as possible to reduce our debt obligation. As creative as possible. And I wish I did not have to mention the name of Lord Ashcroft. And it's a pity that has, just the mention of his name has taken up so much up to now of the discussion. But if we listen intently, the debt owed to him represents under 20% of our entire debt obligations, which again, I repeat, is $5.5 billion. So this thing is larger than Lord Ashcroft, and I wish the day will come when we don't have to mention his name. But you know what? We have to continue mentioning his name for years to come, simply because of how much is owed to this individual and his companies. So do we really think as a country that we can continue to just disregard our obligations while it continues to rack up and rack up? For how long? To what point? It's incredible. It's like we're kicking the can down the road to future generations, man. Is that responsible? It's highly irresponsible. And blame can be thrown all around as to why we are where we are right now. All around. In relation to the UHS-related debt, the previous PUP administration was responsible for that because of a government guarantee that was signed for a medical facility that does not belong to the government and people of Belize. The UDP administration that followed, in its, as far as I see it, its obstinacy to deal with the issue, its refusal to negotiate, this debt ballooned from 35 million to close to 100 million. And that's just one of them we are talking about. The social partners back in 2017, right, several of them, including the NGO network that I represent, had put out positions stating that if we are a country of laws, and if we respect the rule of law, then we must respect the decision of the highest court of our land, in this case the CCJ. But by disregarding the rulings and refusing to engage in negotiation, and that is the obligation of any responsible government, back there and now, to see how we can start to address the debt. And granted, we have greater needs right now. And all that has to be taken into consideration. That is how I look at it. Now, I went to the website for the New York Convention. And let me state some facts. Most of the countries of the world have ratified this convention. 166 to be exact. The vast majority of these countries, upon ratification, entered into declarations or reservations, as has been mentioned by earlier speakers. The vast majority. Every single country in Central America has ratified this convention. Many Caribbean nations have ratified this convention many years ago. And allow me, Madam President, to refer to a couple articles in the convention that I think need to be shared here this morning. And I'll go back to Article 3 that my colleague before me referred to, but I want to read it in its entirety. Article 3 of the convention says that each contracting state shall recognize arbitral awards as binding and enforce them in accordance with the rules of procedure of the territory where the award is relied upon under the conditions laid down in the following articles. Then it continues. There shall not be imposed substantially more onerous conditions or higher fees or charges on the recognition or enforcement of arbitral awards to which this convention applies than are imposed on the recognition or enforcement of domestic arbitral awards. A couple of other very interesting sections. The parties to the agreement referred to in Article 2 were, under the law applicable to them, under some incapacity, or the said agreement is not valid under the law to which the parties have subjected it, or failing any indication thereon under the law of the country where the award was made. This is in reference to recognition and enforcement of the award, how it may be refused. There's another interesting section under Article 5, subsection 2. Recognition and enforcement of an arbitral award may also be refused if the competent authority in the country where recognition and enforcement is sought finds that A, the subject matter of the difference is not capable of settlement by arbitration under the law of that country, or B, the recognition or enforcement of the award would be contrary to the public policy of that country. Now, statements I've heard up to now try to give the impression that once this convention is ratified, the spigot will immediately be opened, the floodgates will be opened, and millions upon millions will be paid out from our national coffers. We know better than that. We know that that does not work that way. We know that we have a Finance and Audit Reform Act. We know that we have to bring this back to Parliament. And the way I look at it, Madam President, I am sorry for any administration that would have the face of brass to pay out millions upon millions during a time such as the one we are facing. There will be more than public outcry. More than public outcry. You know, Madam President, I go back and I say, it is difficult, apparently it is difficult for certain colleagues to keep politics out of very important issues like this. The fact of the matter is, Madam President, from our standpoint, because of this huge debt that we have, because this will not disappear, we as a country must be as creative as we can to shave off as much of that debt as can possibly be shaved off. Negotiate with those who we owe, because this is not only Belize facing this tremendous crisis, the world over is facing it as a result of the pandemic. That has to favor into any negotiations, any discussions. It has to. If COVID-19 has done something for us, I would like to believe, is that it has created an environment where we can come to the table with all the creativity that we can bring and say, look, we owe all of this. We can pay it now, we can pay it the way it was all set out. We need to negotiate a way forward. This country will continue to have to borrow. We will continue to borrow simply because we don't have the resources available. So where will it end? Now, I have, for the past 4 years that I have served as senator, I ensure I do my own investigation, my own research, my own calls. And I will continue to do so. I don't depend on anyone to tell me or to try to convince me or affect how I will think or the beliefs I will have. But I found out also, and I had heard about this before general elections, that indeed there have been some negotiations to set up a debt relief mechanism, and that ratification of this convention is a requirement of the U.S. government to offer insurance coverage that would support private investment for debt relief and conservation initiatives. Now, again, I repeat, and it's a real pity that in some circles they try to give the impression that this is all about Lord Ashcroft. Because we know better, man. We know better. We who read with our own eyes, listen with our own ears, know better. We know, and I will repeat it again, that signing on to a convention does not automatically open the spigot, open the floodgate. We know that it doesn't work like that.
Senator,
And it is unfortunate. Sorry, Madam President. It is our obligation as, at least for the constituents that we represent, to be frank and honest. It is very important. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that, Madam President. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Sheena Pitts.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, my fellow senators. Not Senator Pitts. Senator Pitts was never consulted with by the leader of opposition business prior to today or even prior to this meeting this morning. Not Senator Pitts. Senator Pitts did not receive any telephone call from any high-ranking government official about this motion today. And I start with that, Madam President, for this simple but crucial point to appreciate. This process of the Senate that we are here to do, the process that Senator Bennett expected we are to engage, is not the process with which the leader of opposition business, government business, came to say occurred in relation to this motion. You see, Madam President, it is not for the leader of government business, Senator Courtney, together with any high-ranking government official, to consult, and I use air quotes, I don't like it, but I must use it, to consult with senators outside of the entire Senate. You see, any conversation that happens that does not happen among us all must be suspect. Any conversation that happens as among any senator and any high-ranking government official outside of this process must be suspect. That is not what this process is about. And if it is not suspect, Madam President, because I see my good leader of government business getting beside himself, if it is not suspect, in the very least, we must appreciate the suspicion, reasonable one, that it should be treated as such. Now, before I get into what I want to say, I want to clarify a few things. My colleague, Senator Perry, referenced the easy way that would be paved by the ratification, in that it is expected now that Lord Ashcroft would not even have to go through a court process to collect his money. Madam President, it would be remiss of me to not correct my colleague, because that is not so. And I say I am correcting my colleague. You see, I like this, because the leader of government business must recognize when truth is truth, when fact is fact, and he will always recognize, and I expect him to recognize, that we will not play with words in here, we will not hide behind words in here, and we will represent the interests of the people for the benefit of the government of Belize. So let me continue. I have to correct him, because the ratification does not mean that Lord Ashcroft does not go through the court process. He still has to go. The convention speaks to what he must do. Our very arbitration act, for which the complete context, the complete convention is adopted, speaks to the process when you go to the court. But what my colleague was referring to, I don't read minds, but I know our collective intention and position, is that the process in going to court, having the convention ratified, is a bit easier in relation to the process of going to court without the ratification and having to use common law. There is a difference. I will get into that later on, but that is one of those glaring corrections that needed to be made most promptly. I received notification of this meeting Friday, January 22nd, 2021 by email at 4:29 p.m. In that email had the attachments of the orders of today and the very motion. At the motion, and I identified the paragraph, I read, it says, and whereas the objective of the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards is to require courts of the contracting states to give effect to private agreements to arbitrate and to recognize and enforce arbitration awards made in other contracting states. The other important paragraph is, and whereas the government of Belize is desirous of completing the formalities by ratifying the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards pursuant to Article 8 of the Convention, leader of government business preempted and it might appear as good strategy. Whether it was successful remains to be seen, he said. And I asked, why now? What is the purpose of doing the ratification now? Where is the process of how the matter of ratification will come to view? Remember, I began not Senator Pitt. It was silent, it was absent, non-existing, no accompanying note, no explanation. I got no phone call. At that time, no press release on January 22nd, January 23rd, January 24th, January 25th, or January 26th. And I pause. This is not theater. This is no dramatic. The pause is for the effect. 5 days within which us on this side of the floor could have, should have, and ought to have been consulted, not Senator Pitts. Madam President, I want to remind all of us here today of our last sitting. And if we can remember that my contribution then was to elucidate the very position I am here, unfortunately, to stress again. And to that, my learned friend and senior, the leader of government business, Senator Courtney, rose and put on record, in addition to representations he had made to me, a hope to have the Senate operate differently, that definitively documents will be provided beforehand. This Senate is to be truly consultative. Then we dealt with the motion of good governance. In that good governance motion, I highlight number 4, unreservedly support plans and policies of a PUP government that promotes social, economic, and environmental justice. Ensure that all workers receive fair pay for their work and to implement a livable minimum wage of $5 per hour. To work to eliminate economic and social privilege and disparity among Belizeans and to protect the rights of all to life, liberty, access to affordable education, university health care, land and housing, and the right to live in peaceful communities. Most importantly, Madam President, to insist on good and transparent governance. I repeat, to insist on good and transparent governance and to hold accountable those who betray the public good. Do you recall, Madam President, that at that time, when we voiced our concerns, Senator Courtney said, "Aye, man, make we pass the motion first. After we pass the motion, we will follow the motion. We have to pass it first." I respectfully, a bit reluctantly, accepted his position because it is only fair to give ourselves the opportunity to do what we say we are going to do. So then the good governance motion was passed. Here we are today again, talking about the same thing that was put on record and that from thereafter would not have occurred. I jog Madam President's memory again to recall when Senator Bennett sprung to her feet on the need for process. You can't just do it. There is a process.
Order 36, that a senator shall remain relevant to the bill or motion that is on the floor. My colleague, Senator Pitts, he really is not debating the motion that's on the floor.
President,
You then pull the points you're making to the motion on the floor.
Madam President, if I would be permitted to, that will be done. And I note here and say that in court, when we are being interrupted, that because what is being said don't want to be heard. Madam President, if I were to associate myself with or accept as true and real that, and I do not, the people of Belize cannot. This is two of the same kind of thing. Once bitten, twice shy, and the snake in plain sight as opposed to the snake on the grass. Madam President, the fact that we are here today on a motion without consultation, without any supporting documentation, with proof positive to inform us that will direct the tenor and extent of this debate, is the point that was relevant then, and it is relevant now, and that is the nexus between what I was saying before and now. And therefore, when my learned friend, senior and leader of government business rose to his feet on the standing order, he was premature. The strategy is stale, Madam President. The behavior to cause it to be repeated is also stale. And by the way, at this juncture, for the leader of government business, Senator Courtney, or any other senator, to rise and speak of particulars and specificity without us first having sight of it is unsatisfactory, it is unparliamentary, and it ought to be denounced. Madam President, I am glad to see us all here in our numbers. No one is blue, purple, or pink. We didn't hold our breath. We didn't get the document. I wondered to myself, would it be different if I should join my colleague, leader of government business, and worship at the shrine of Bacchus, that then I would get the document, or that us on this side would get the documents beforehand? I wonder if I would join the Senators for Social Partners and worship at the shrine of Bacchus, would I then...
Senator, can we focus on the motion?
Madam President, I am doing just that.
Respect. Could the senator indicate which document she's talking about? All the senators got the same document. The only thing is a ratification. I don't know what document she's talking about.
Madam President, first and foremost, there is no point of order with which the leader of government business rose. And second of all, I am still speaking. The fact that there is no other document is the very point I am making. All we have is the motion. We don't have anything that informs the motion.
To sit down. Thank you. If we can continue our debate and if we can stick to the motion on the table. Senator Pitts.
Thank you, Madam President. It is telling that we cannot, even in the Senate,
You may go ahead, Senator Pitt.
Thank you, Madam President. It is telling that we in the Senate cannot hold the government accountable to the very good governance motion which underpins everything that we come here to do from then until the end.
Senator Pitts, you have quite elaborated on that point. I would like for you to now focus on the motion in front of you.
Thank you, Madam President, and I intend to do so if I am permitted. On the motion, the pertinent question, why ratify now? What is the purpose for ratifying now? Now, having received the motion, 4 things happened. 1, the media got hold of the motion. 2, Honorable John Eversenio, the Prime Minister of Belize, gave an interview in relation to the motion. 3, Wali bird find feather, turn feather into finger, find phone and start calling, whispering in the ears, plural, of senators. And 4, a press release dated January 27, 2021 at 3:35 p.m. And I will deal with these 4 issues, these 4 events in turn. On the issue of the media getting hold of the motion, it always amazes me how they do that. And it is not my place to speculate how they got it, and I will leave it at that. In the Prime Minister's interview with the media, when faced with, and as Senator Perifete puts it, the Ashcroft motion, he had this to say, and if I may be permitted, this convention will have absolutely nothing to do with previous awards that have been passed against the government of Belize. We got legal advice that that cannot happen, and we have been assured that that cannot happen. There is no nefarious plan here. Madam President, to that I say, prove it. To that I say, make provision expressly, and as has been alluded to, for the reservation and or declaration contemporaneous with ratification, after and only after satisfying us why focus is being placed on a convention as opposed to feeding Belizeans, keeping Belizeans employed, providing stimulus for Belizeans, instead of using monies to pay severance and vacation pay because people are getting fired, and picking up more liabilities for protracted litigation. What I am saying, Madam President, if it is becoming lost, what the point on this motion is, that as a country, this government ought to properly prioritize. We learn in our homes to separate our needs from our wants. What do the people of Belize need at this time? Not the ratification of this convention. It serves them no useful purpose, and I will get into that. In that interview, Madam President, for the first time, and independent of the orders of the day supplied to us, did I hear about, and I quote, we are doing some delicate negotiation with issues of some of the debt that we have, and to be able to address then, we need to pass this UN convention so that we can be able to proceed. That is the first time there was a suggestion as to the purpose or reason behind the motion, independent of and outside of what we are doing here. And then I ask, what delicate negotiation? To say that it is a debt for conservation kind of negotiation doesn't help us. It doesn't take us much far. We still don't know exactly what it is about. Who are the parties involved in this delicate negotiation? What are some of the issues with the debt? Most importantly, and I think is crucial, is whether or not the debt includes those amounts owed to Michael Ashcroft. There are other questions that we can ask as a result of the Prime Minister's interview. Who are we going to borrow from? What are their terms? I would have asked whether or not it provides for arbitration, but it must, because we have the motion. Which foreign state is being contemplated? Before I go further, Madam President, I want to say that it must be appreciated that no true debate or debater can claim triumph where an opponent has no information, and by the nature of the process of these proceedings, no rebuttal. The foundation of our purpose here is to work for Belizeans in being able to successfully represent their interests and challenge matters meant to affect them. What challenge can the churches, the business community, and the others really mount with the Honorable Johnny Briceño utterances in the media versus the orders of the day document? What can we come here to do and challenge if we have nothing to inform us about those delicate negotiations, about this debt for conservation negotiations? It's not included here. It should have. Those negotiations, they cannot. And I would hazard to say they do not include nuclear codes for which we don't even have. So why is it treated with such secrecy that we do not even know, so that we can inform ourselves and say, yes, this is about country, debt restructuring, and not about Michael Ashcroft? We can't say that. We can't really and truly say 100% what this is about. And you've heard Senator Perry said that it may very well mean that negotiations fall through. Three, remember I identified 4 things that occurred as a result of the motion. That little bird, on January 27, 2021, Wally Bird turned a feather into finger, find phone, and start making calls about what this motion is purported to be about. Again, not Senator Pitts. I got no call. I learned later of the call. Thankfully, because I don't like animals whispering in my ears, and certainly not the feathered kind. But the point is this, Madam President. The Honorable Johnny Briceño, the Prime Minister of our country, did not convey the purpose of this motion with the leader of the opposition, so that the opposition could be guided accordingly and be informed. The leader of government business, Senator Courtney, did not, as I've said before, prior to now, share the purpose of the convention with the leader of opposition business, Senator Perry, as he has said. As between the two, and I've mentioned this to my learned friend, whom I afford the greatest respect, and for the first time, I have to ask, where is the head and where is the tail? Who is the dog and who is the tail? Madam President, I don't know if the non-disclosure to the opposition was directed by the Prime Minister, or I don't know if it is in the reverse, that the leader of government business independently so decided to not disclose, then go on to consult, but not consult the opposition senators. Let's be clear, Madam President, and I will always endeavor to be very measured in understanding what comes before us and appreciating the ramifications of what comes before us. And I remind us that Senator Salas had indicated on the previous occasion that the government has no majority here. I repeat, Senator Salas, that he does not take what has been said to him as gospel. In my own words, he doesn't take it as gospel. He does his own research. He does his own investigation. And that he likes to rely on what he can see with his own eyes. And so I ask Senator Salas, having gone through the convention, have you found in any of the articles from Article 1 to 16 the express reservation against the retroactive application of the terms of the convention? Have you seen that? Senator Salas, you said you wish the day would come when we don't have to mention Lord Ashcroft's name. I would associate myself with that. But to understand the ramifications of that statement is to accept that we don't need to ratify. Because if we ratify, we are bringing him out of the very darkness for which you wish him to be kept. And I say that because of this. It is no secret that Lord Ashcroft is owed money. We heard some explanations from the leader of government business on what this motion is about and what it is not about. He mentioned the 3 outstanding awards and what the CCJ has said in relation to 2, and the other one that has not called in on that award. Remember, Madam President, I said we must not hide behind words, and we must not skirt around words. We must pay attention to what is said and what is not said. At no time did we hear for whom those awards refer and for how much. It would have served us well if it came from out of the mouth of the leader of government business, not from the opposition. We heard from Senator Perifit that the amounts are 29 million, 311 million, and 147 million in respect to those three awards, and that the person who stands ultimately to benefit is Lord Michael Ashcroft. We should not allow ourselves to be taken into the direction of hearing information like that from the opposition. But it is good there is an opposition to say it. Or else if the opposition does not say it, we would not have heard it. Where is the reservation? And I don't want to jump ahead of myself, because coming here after will be a discussion on the convention and whether it has retroactive effect. And if it is, we mean to provide for reservations, how we can do so. The suspicion, like I've said, that Ashcroft stands to benefit is real. It is not imagined. It looks like a duck and it's walking like a duck. Now, number 4, the press release dated January 27, 2021, at 3:35 p.m. Madam President, with your permission, I read that release. Crave your indulgence, Madam President.
Clock is ticking on you.
I am very mindful, Madam President.
Okay.
If it is, I am going to be reminded of the clock. I hope I can take it that all of us here are very conversant with that release. But what I will say about the release, since we want to stay true to the clock, suppressing the opposition voice, is that it spoke to the debt for conservation
In accordance
related
with the standing orders.
It refers to the debt for conservation related transaction. It also provides for speaks to providing for reservations against retroactive application of the terms of the convention. Madam President, again here I wonder aloud, do we understand and know what retroactive application is and what it means? I wonder aloud for those senators who were called and consulted. Does Senator Smith have independent evidence material particular to the debt for conservation related transaction? And I ask this not to point out anyone, not to put anyone on the spot, but to simply ask whether or not we have seen anything in relation to that debt for conservation related transaction, for which is the purpose of this motion. That is a legitimate request for us to be satisfied that it is just that. And so what I'm saying, we can't be satisfied that it is for that, because we have no proof. And if it is we have no proof, it cannot be far from suspicion that all of those persons who stand to benefit from the motion are captured in the benefits of the motion, which is Lord Michael Ashcroft. I ask, in the same tenor as I've just explained about identifying and satisfying ourselves the nexus between this motion and what it is said to be about, because I don't want it to be misunderstood that I am not being relevant to the motion. Can Senator, and I say again, my fellow senators, I do not call our respective names to put us on the spot or to cause you to take offense or become defensive. I ask these questions because I really want to know. I am the one. I am saying I have none. So we want to know, do you? Does can Senator Bengushe sleep conscience free that he has discharged before God, above all, that he has concrete proof to satisfy himself that this convention will accomplish 100% effective alienation of Ashcroft's benefit arising under the convention? Do we have that? Because we don't have the reservation. It's not in the word of the convention. The Arbitration Act that adopts the full text of the convention has no clause that provides that it will have no retroactive effect. Because, Madam President, those countries that have ratified, identifying what retroactivity really is, have either consciously, in the case of Australia, made specific provisions that the convention retroactively applies. Countries like India and Ghana specifically provide that the convention does not have retroactive application. So I am saying, at this juncture, do we have proof positive before us in passing the motion in its state that it will not have retroactive effect? We do not. And that point cannot be lost. We do not. Now, if we are to accept that this is a debt for conservation, negotiation purpose, and that we are dealing with our debts and restructuring the debts, every time we borrow money, it carries with it implications that affect each and every one of us. It may cause the government to impose higher tax rates. I don't know. The leader of government business is puzzled. He too does not know. And that is the point. We can't say because we don't know. Is Senator Herrera content in appreciating that any reckless or careless approach to debt carries with it those very ramifications I spoke to, the increase of taxes for businesses and consumers alike? Gas done gone up about 2 or 3 times already. Madam President.
Senator, we'll ask you if you can please wrap up. You're just about meeting your time as stated in the standing orders.
I am guided, Madam President, and I hope that when that time comes, by the standing order, I can be afforded the extra time that I may need if I need it. And by the looks of it, leader of government business don't want to continue to feel the fire, so he won't agree.
I rise on a point of order. You warned Senator Pitt that time was running against her twice. She started at 10 minutes after It is now 45 minutes, and in accordance with Standing Order 41, her time has expired. I ask that she be brought to order.
Senator Pitts, I can give you about 2 to 3 minutes and ask if you can please wrap up.
I am most grateful, Madam President. In wrapping up, I say this: an honest belief, however much intensified, cannot be admitted into all reality. To hear that this is a debt for conservation motion without proof is not sufficient for us to vote yes. To hear that there will be a reservation to come without proof now by an amendment of the Arbitration Act or the express reservation now is not enough for us to vote yea to this motion and to vote yea for this convention on only where the Lee Bird Tailway or the interview or the press release without proof positive is to grasp at a shadow while the substance escapes. With that, Madam President, I conclude my input on the motion, and I earnestly hope that it is not lost that this motion is premature and it does not rank in priority in comparison to the needs of the Belizean people at this time.
Thank you, Senator.
President, in accordance with Standing Order 10.8, I move that the proceedings on the order paper may be entered upon and proceeded with at this day's sitting at any hour, though opposed.
Honorable members, the question is that the proceedings on the order paper may be entered upon and proceeded with at this day's sitting at any hour, though opposed. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it. I recognize Senator Aldo Salazar. We're not hearing you, Senator.
Thank you, Madam President. When I got this notice of this motion, I thought that, I had to prepare for the Senate again. I had to drive up here again, past Mahogany Heights again. I saw the sign again, big blue and white sign, even though it was pouring cats and dogs, I saw it. People of Belize have to pay me mileage again to come here. Well, they don't have to, but people of Belize pay me mileage to come here. It's not a lot. I think it's about $1.20, something like that. But still, yet, we're not here to deal with what I would say are things that directly benefit the Belizean people. We're not here to raise the minimum wage as was promised. We're here to ratify a convention that, as far as Belizean people are concerned, will have no direct benefit on their lives. You see, and the question is, as leader of government business said, what he was anticipating is why and why now? And that's the question. Why and why now? When I was on the other side where Senator Carl is sitting right now, one of the things that I disliked very much, and one of the things that I've always thought that, there's no use in opposing just to oppose. There's no use in opposing to get political mileage. I'm speaking for myself because I'm a practical person. And if it's something that will benefit our country, then we should find ways of working together. So, what we're hearing is that it is something that is for the benefit of our country. But you see, the problem is that what we want over this side is to feel secure. We want to feel secure, we want to feel satisfied that this is the situation. And we're not very demanding. It's very easy to satisfy us and to make us feel secure and to engage us and to speak to us so that we could have a discussion. Because let us not forget that in this honorable chamber we represent more than 40% of the electorate as well. It's 3 of us, but we represent more than 40% of the electorate. And the thing is that if we don't get details, and we're not just saying this as members of the opposition, but I know that the Belizean people feel this way as well. When you start to talk about arbitration awards and ratifying treaties for enforcement, Belizean people get jumpy. For good reason. They get jumpy for good reason. And it's because we know that there are certain awards out there that could cripple us financially. And so the thing is now, if we're not getting the details, then honestly it looks fishy. It looks questionable then. Now I'll take my colleague at his word. He's saying that this is to do debt swap, etc., etc. However, if that is the case, we need to ensure that there are ways in which we are protected from the enforcement of those awards. And it's very simple. It's not difficult. It's a very simple thing to do. We heard talk about reservations. Now, I will confess that I'm not an international law expert, an expert on treaties. But I did listen very well in my class at UA from David Berry. And there are 2 reservations that this treaty speaks about. At Article 1.3. When signing, ratifying, or acceding to this convention or notifying extension under Article 10 hereof, any state may, on the basis of reciprocity, declare that it will apply the convention to the recognition and enforcement of awards made only in the territory of another contracting state. 2, it may also declare that it will apply the convention only to differences arising out of legal relationships, whether contractual or not, which are considered as commercial under the national law of the state, making such declaration. So, these are the 2 reservations that are allowed by this treaty. I haven't seen a reservation by any state. I've seen reservations talking about the first one and the second one. Most states have made the 2 reservations, but I haven't seen a reservation from a state dealing with not having any retrospective application of the treaty. I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I have not seen it. I've looked for it diligently. So that is my concern. Is this a reservation that can really be made under this treaty? I don't know. I'm not an expert. But I consider myself a reasonable man, and therefore it is a reasonable thing to arise. And it merits discussion. It merits discussion. Can we enter a reservation of this type? And if we can't, that's not the end of the world. We can still do something else about it. But this would come with engagement, formal engagement. So, like I said, I wish we lived in a world where the Prime Minister would call the Honorable Leader of the Opposition and say to him, this is very important to us as a country. Let us work together. I would sit with any of my colleagues to work things out and to make it clear to the Belizean people what is the urgency. We understand that we can't share details with the public about everything. But we here are all reputable persons, I would say, and we are entrusted, the three of us are entrusted with many secrets for our clients, etc. And we have an oath, and there is no reason why details of these things can't be shared with us and all the other partners. So it's lamentable. It is lamentable. It is an opportunity lost, and I would ask that when this sort of thing arises again, perhaps we can have a discussion. We can work together. We don't have to always appear to be fighting. And this is what our Belizean people need. So I have some reservations, pardon the pun, about the reservations. I don't know if we can have a reservation of that nature. The next thing is about retrospective application of this treaty. Now, the comment has been made that there's legal advice to the effect that it is not retroactively, it cannot be retroactively applied. Now, I have a 2016 document from the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, which is called the Guide on the Convention. This is the New York Convention that we're talking about. The Guide on the Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards. Now, this is the UN Guide. And the UN Guide says, in the majority of contracting states, courts have considered that the convention applies to arbitration agreements signed before the convention's entry into force in the enforcing state, arbitral awards which predate the adoption of the convention, either by the state where the award was rendered or by the enforcing state. The UN Guide is saying that, not me. First, courts have accepted to apply the convention in situations where the contract containing the arbitration agreement had been signed before the convention entered into force in the state. For instance, the Brazilian Superior Court of Justice held that the fact that the arbitration agreement was signed prior to the Arbitration Act implementing the convention was immaterial because procedural laws such as the Arbitration Act, had immediate effect under Brazilian law. Next, the guide goes on to speak about a House of Lords decision which involved the government of Kuwait, which concerned the building of an airport in Kuwait by a British company or British partner, something to that effect. And this speaks about that. Second, with few exceptions, courts have applied the convention when an arbitral award had been rendered in a state which had not yet acceded to the convention. For instance, the English House of Lords applied the Arbitration Act implementing the New York Convention to an arbitral award rendered in Kuwait prior to Kuwait's accession to the convention. The House of Lords held that the relevant time to assess whether a state was a contracting state, was the time of enforcement and not the time the award was made. And it goes on to talk about a German court and the same thing. So, in the same vein, it says, and this is the last part I'll read from this guidance, certain courts have applied the convention retroactively in accordance with their national legislation. And that brings me to the point that I want to make. Well, another point that I want to make. That House of Lords decision has a discussion about how, it doesn't say it explicitly, but it has a discussion about the fact that the awards are enforceable, do have retroactive applicability. But it also goes on to discuss that if your national legislation does not allow for that applicability, then that is going to prevent that retroactive application. And so my position is that I'm not sure that the reservation will work. I've read this House of Lords decision, and I feel that, no, I'm not saying that this is the case legally, because I've really not had enough time to apply myself fully to it. But the point is that because of this, we should really pause to consider, to look at our Arbitration Act and to see whether we could include a clause in there which is going to make it absolutely clear that it does not have any retroactive applicability. It's very easy for us to do. There's no rocket science. And I'm saying that, you know, these are things that we could discuss, these are things that we could look into a little bit more. And we could tell our international partners, yes, we do recognize the importance of these international agreements. Give us a little time, let's look at our national legislation. We want to be sure that in our country, our people are going to accept this. Because at the end of the day, the government answers to the people. So, I don't care who all has ratified this convention. Guatemala, Honduras, Salvador, Barbados, St. Lucia. They are not Belize, and they are not in the situation that we are in. So, it no matter if they don't sign. We always have that. Oh, but so no matter what so and so has done. The position is that we have circumstances which are indigenous to Belize, which we must assess on our own. So, and I want to make the point that I'm not here to quarrel. I'm not here to beat down and say this, that. I'm just saying, let's have a discourse. Maybe we can put a pause on it. Let's have a discourse. Let's look at whether we can have this reservation, because we don't have a reservation before us. Let's look at whether we definitely can put it in place. Let's look at our Arbitration Act. The persons that we're dealing with for this, this debt issue are not going to abandon us because we want to look at this thing a little bit more carefully. We're not saying we're not committed to looking, to considering it and to have it passed eventually. All we're saying is that we want to engage everybody, because when it comes to these enforcement awards, our people sit up and take notice. So, I heard Senator Salas talk about, you know, we really should pay these awards. We really need to come and negotiate at the table. But the issue is, what if the persons you're dealing with have no desire to negotiate with you? We live in a civilized society, yes? Our people are civilized people. We live in a civilized society and we want to pay our debts. But the people of Belize, and I say this with certainty, the people of Belize do not want to pay these debts, and it is on a matter of principle. It is on a matter of principle why they don't want to address these. And if we feel otherwise, then I think we're mistaken, because this is a flashpoint for Belizeans. So, in closing, all I'd like to say is this. Can't we just take a little pause, look at this thing, engage the opposition, engage the social partners, let's get the wording of the reservation, let's look at our Arbitration Act, and then let's move forward. That's not too much to ask for. And I would challenge my colleagues, our social partners, to join me in this question. Because what I am asking for is not obstructionism. We want clarity, certainty for our people. Thank you.
I recognize Senator Eleanor Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to make a few remarks on this motion before us. I want to start off, Madam President, by saying that I am happy that I am where I am. And when I say that to mean that I am not here representing any political party. And so as such, we are free to express, as we all are, but I believe that we are free to express our positions without any political side to it, if you will. And as a trade union, we have been known to criticize both parties. We've worked with both parties and we've fought both parties. And so for us, we never take our position based on political affiliation. I want to mention that I received no calls, Senator Pitts, from no persons, not here with us today, nor any higher person in a higher position, none whatsoever. And I'm not sure if I should be happy about that or sad. Because maybe I have missed some information that I would have needed, I don't know, but nonetheless, I think it's good. Because when I stand here, my people that I represent can be assured that when I stand here, I am presenting their position and it's not being infiltrated in any way. So having said that, Madam President, some of the questions that my organization gave me were sort of responded to, but there are some areas that they insisted that I raise today, and so I will do that as quickly as I can. I'm not going into any of these legal back and forth. That's not my training. I'm a teacher. I know nothing about law, and so listening to my colleagues who have that expertise has assisted in getting a better understanding of what is before us today. And so I appreciate that very much. One of the first things that we thought or came to us is that, wow, this thing is about Mr. Ashcroft. It has to be about him. It can't be about anybody else. And I think that is the sentiment that has been placed out there by many persons. Right? And so today we are hearing the contrary. It still remains the sentiment. We also thought about why now? You know, why is this urgent? And yes, we got some responses for that. But Madam President, we are aware that such a motion would have far-reaching effects, far-reaching consequences. And so we felt that something as important as this, that requires so much research, so much preparation, that more time would have been good for us to properly go through and be able to present in a way that would aid in making this motion better if it could be made better. Remember, I said I'm not any legal person, so I'm just sharing with you all, what was shared with me. And as my colleague Senator Salazar said, we're not here to fight with anybody. We are here to seek clarity. We are here to get a better understanding from those who know more than we do. And so we thought that, we could have done with more time. That would have been appreciated. But the NTUCB, Madam President, wishes for me to place on record that the same manner in which this motion was brought before us today, with that same urgency that it was treated with, that the government must also treat with similar urgency the matters of UNCOC, the matter of OSH, the matter of ILO conventions such as Convention 58, and other labor matters that affect our working population. Good governance that we recently passed in the Senate. We say that, Madam President, to note that while the motion before us may be urgent, as Senator Courtney explained, the matter of the negotiations currently going on, we also recognize that as a member in this chamber, we too have urgent matters that we believe should be addressed and be addressed urgently. And from time to time we raise those matters, and we trust that we will take them seriously. And as we said at the last meeting, the matter of the good governance covered some of those issues. But they have to be dealt with urgency as well, because they are very critical, they're very important to us. And we are key stakeholders in this matter. And so having said all of that, Madam President, the NTUCB at this time, the NTUCB's position on this motion is that we will not support this motion today. I thank you.
I recognize Senator Kevin Herrera.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise today to speak briefly on the motion. This issue, Madam President, is a very troubling one for me personally. And I say troubling because, on principle, if we sign a convention, it implies an intention to carry through with it. And part of that carrying through is the ratification process. And so on principle, I don't have an issue there. The issue for me is whether or not we can afford to go through the process. Simply because I think several of my colleagues this morning had mentioned the issue of the debts and the arbitral awards that are out there. I think Yesterday, when I did my background check, I think it was mentioned that it was $400 million. And so that's a very, I'm sorry, that's a very troubling issue for me. Simply because I know where the country is with respect to its finances. I know how difficult it is for those who have to deal with that issue every day. I think the leader of government business, Senator Courtney, mentioned that we are having issues meeting those obligations, and that is an issue for that will be a serious issue for the private sector and for all citizens of Belize if we can't meet our obligations. And so we want to be helpful in this process. We really want to be helpful in this process. If there's anything we can do, we wouldn't hesitate to do it. But we know the individual, we know the entities that we're dealing with and that are looming in the background. And we know how that game is played. And we also recognize that I can't recall that we've ever won a round against this individual. And so that's where the big concern for me arises. I heard the leader of government business mention that reservation and retroactivity will be lodged or will be declared. And that's a good thing. I think in my research I saw the Democratic Republic of Congo, I believe, in 2015 had intended to do that. I don't know if they went through with it, and I know that under Article 1, Paragraph 3, I think the paragraph that Senator Salazar had read over earlier, it allows for two reservations that I'm aware of. The one on reciprocity and the other on that the convention will apply only to differences arising out of legal relationships, whether contractual or not. And those are the declarations, those are the reservations that have been made by over 90 countries from my count when I looked at the reservations that were lodged. So I am not entirely clear, like Senator Salazar, whether the reservation for retroactivity is possible. I hope it would be. But even so, I also think that the country has been so entangled in many of these arrangements with probably our largest foreign investor or investor that we have in the country. And we don't know what is looming going forward. And my concern is really, again, coming back to it, that I wouldn't want that by supporting this motion today, that we make our situation worse than making it better. The intention, like I said, is that we will get on top of the debt situation, and we will really want to be helpful if supporting this motion today will assist with government's debt restructuring. I think all of us will benefit from that. So I will take the government at its word, Madam President, that the intention here is to facilitate in that restructuring, in that rearrangement of the government's debt. But I do so in a very uneasy manner. I'm not very comfortable, simply because I know that there are huge possibilities with respect to persons enforcing awards against the country that we may not be able to afford. And that's a big concern for me. Thank you, Madam President.
I recognize Senator Bishop Bengeje.
Thank you, Madam President. All right, to speak on the motion before us, and perhaps I should also state that in standing here this afternoon, I'm representing, as you know, a body that in a sense would have sent me here. And so, with due respect to them, I would have done as I normally would do in the most recent times that I have been here, to consult with as many of them as is possible. And so, I must indicate whether I was called or not is not the issue for me this afternoon. But one of the things that I would say is of issue here is that I am concerned that as a country, we must respect the rule of law. And that for me is one of the important issues here this afternoon. Are we respecting that which we have signed up for? Is a part of the issue. And so in saying that, I will not be long, but just to indicate that as I have heard all my colleagues this morning, this afternoon, I point to perhaps maybe just a few things, and I want to take a different direction. I do not want to get into the rubrics of the owing aspect and who is owed, etc. I want to take a different approach and speak, as I said, to the understanding of the rule of law. But I do appreciate what Senator Sellers has said, perhaps in those arguments that went this morning, this afternoon, that we have to be careful as a country not to kick the can down the road. And so I take note of that. And in so saying and so doing, I want to remind us that for me, there are some additional things that we must also take into consideration, and perhaps maybe in all that has taken place, we might be losing sight of those things. And I just want to make reference to the fact that in what we are seeking to pass, we must also take note that perhaps as now or later, there are other business entities who perhaps maybe at the present moment are being affected in one way or the other, or maybe later down the road might be affected. And so we have to ask, well, what becomes of those entities? What becomes of those businesses? Do they wait because we simply cannot agree? And I'm saying that I think those persons must also be taken, those entities, those organizations, those businesses must also be taken into consideration. And so as we sit here, it is not particularly about one individual, but there might be other persons involved. And how do we best represent them as we are in this Senate today? And so, Madam President, I think we must also be mindful of that. I understand what the leader of the government business in this Senate has said, that presently there are some negotiation taking place, and I understand that. I'm also aware of the fact that from where perhaps he's sitting, there, as he has mentioned, that it is at a delicate stage. I'm prepared to accept that, and that is just the nature of business and the nature of negotiation which takes place, especially with government. I'm prepared to accept that. But like my social partners, I will just caution him to proceed with much caution and to ensure that the business of the country comes first in all this. I'm also aware, Madam President, and I just have here on my notes, if you will allow me. There's one thing that I took note of, where it is said somewhere that in applying the convention will only apply to awards after the date of ratification. And I take note of that because I recognize that that too has been a large part of what was discussed here today, or what is being discussed here today. And having said all that, Madam President, having said all that, I want to say that we can support the motion as it is being placed here today. Belize, no doubt, is behind in signing to these conventions. We need to ensure that whether yesterday or today, we need to do it, and we need to do it now. Thank you very much.
I recognize the leader of government business.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I want to start by saying, once again, except for Senator Salazar, we witnessed today an unnecessary and unbridled political show by senators on the opposite side. We heard about suspicion. We heard about who the dog, and who to take the head, and who to take the tail. We heard about who is doing what with feather and finger and this and that. We hear somebody who got a fetish for Michael Ashcroft. Look like he can't sleep unless he talk about Michael Ashcroft. But the point of the matter, Madam President, is that when sound and sober words were spoken in this Senate, there was not a word. Senator Salas said he was aware prior to the election that these negotiations were underway. Not one of them accepted it. In fact, I quote Senator Herfeet, absolutely and utterly false. End of quote. It's sad, Madam President. It's sad. Because I have the evidence. I have the evidence. You would have thought that when the fight was going on with Michael Ashcroft, that the United Democratic Party was at the forefront, fighting against the predator. Some other name was called today. But Madam President, black and white, speak the truth. With your permission, I want to quote from the same 2017 judgment of the Caribbean Court of Justice. This is in the UHS case. This is a case where the bank was saying, pay me my money and I will enforce it. And they went to court. Listen to what the Caribbean Court of Justice said about the lawyers for the United Democratic Party. It is necessary to mention that the proceedings were originally brought by the Association of Concerned Belizeans against the Prime Minister and the Attorney General of Belize. There was a change of government in Belize in February 2008, and the new Prime Minister and the Attorney General ceased to defend the claim. Dean Oliver Barrow, Wilfred Peter Elrington ceased to defend the claim brought by the Belize Bank. In Court of Appeal, Ms. Magali Perdomo was announced as appearing for the Prime Minister and the Attorney General, but did not otherwise participate in the proceedings. This is the fight against Mr. Barrow. They did not defend. The respondent Attorney General therefore had the opportunity to raise the issue of the illegality of the transaction, if such a course was considered factual and viable, and chose not to do so. When the fight was raging, when Mr. Ashcroft Bank wanted his money, when they were on this side, when we were in court, they raised the white flag, surrendered to the man, surrendered and come here and pretend that they are so righteous, pretend that they are the patriots. The court of CCJ went on. Furthermore, the decision of the board in the ACB proceedings was the basis of and entirely consistent with the concession made in the Court of Appeal by Mr. Dennis Barrow, SC, for the government. The Prime Minister's brother conceded at the start of the appeal. Learned Senior Counsel handed up a document dated the 14th June 2016, style Respondent Statement of Issues. That document stated at paragraph 1, the question whether the promissory note created a debt has been overtaken by the agreement of the parties that the executive could properly have entered into the promissory note without prior legislative approval. In his minority decision, Justice of Appeal Blackman interpreted this concession as recognizing that prior legislative approval was not a prerequisite to enter into the promissory note. CCJ says, in these proceedings, i.e. in the CCJ, Mr. Anthony Astafan, Senior Counsel for the government, confirmed that the concession was rightly made. Something could be clear. When they jump and shout and scream that they are against Ashcroft, understand that they were the ones who conceded, black and white. Don't come here with your false patriotism. 31st of August 2000. See, Jules? Diplomatic note, number 600. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs presents its compliments to the Embassy of the United States of America and has the honor to present the countersigned attached document, original shared via note 20-90. The International Development Finance Corporation support to private investment and marine conservation in Belize by the provision of a transaction arranged with, and there's a name called, in the form of political risk insurance via an insurance contract, offers a meaningful development alternative for Belize. The government of Belize expresses its appreciation for the efforts made in this regard. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs avails itself of this opportunity to renew to the Embassy of the United States of America the assurances of its highest consideration. Attached to this diplomatic note from 2020 is an agreement signed by Dean Oliver Barrow on the 25th August 2020. 25th August 2020. They come with the pretense, but you never consult we. You never tell we. You did it. You were involved in it. Your government was the one who signed it, and I'm coming to you with the WhatsApp shortly. Madam President, we are dealing with a debt crisis in this country. The United Democratic Party started these negotiations. They came here pretending that they don't know what we talk about. I want to quote Mr. Perry, Senator Perry, absolutely and utterly false that it began under the UDP. Well, this is Dean Oliver Barrow, Prime Minister. But it goes worse, and I will make this available so that I don't have to call the names to the senators over here, because they have these documents. See it? Yesterday, people started sending me WhatsApp. I won't call the names. They refer to our AG. They refer to our AG. Madam President, this goes back to September 2020. This is coming from the person, from the international institution, to a CEO. Any word on ratification? I have a call this afternoon with Blanc, the minister, to discuss. Best case scenario would be if GOB can ratify. Let me tell you what the CEO says. Yes, I am pushing for that. I told the minister, and I'll call the name, that we can do that before the elections to ensure that the ball keeps rolling. Answer? Great, thanks. Then come here and pretend that they were not doing it. Hear what the man say? Best case scenario would be if GOB can ratify. Hear the answer? Yes, I am pushing for that. I told the minister that we can do that before the elections to ensure that the ball keeps rolling. Great, thanks. Next WhatsApp. Hey, now call no name. Any word on ratifying the New York Convention? I'd like to schedule a call next week with GOB team. Team? They had a team. To introduce Mr. So-and-so, our deal lead, who is stepping in since so-and-so is leaving soon. Please let me know when would be a good day and time. Now get the dates correct, right? September 2020. Hi, now call no name. I know that the minister was to talk to the AG yesterday. I'll get an update from Minister. Who was the AG? Me. I know that minister was to talk to the AG yesterday. I will get an update from Minister. Absolutely and utterly false.
Cut the disruptions down, please.
Good morning, Minister. I hope you are well. I'm just checking in to see if there's any update from GOB on ratifying the New York Convention. I also wanted to request a meeting this week to introduce the deal as so-and-so is leaving at the end of this week. Now hear the answer from the minister. In all likelihood, this appears not to be doable before the parliamentary term is ended. You're not saying not do it. It is not likely doable before the parliamentary term is ended. The point of the matter is, right? They committed to it. They said they would do it. They consulted the AG. They said, we will try. We are pushing to do it before the elections. The elections draw near, and they said, we can't do it before the end of the term. We are here today, Madam President and members of the Senate, to complete something that was conceived by the United Democratic Party administration. It was good for Belize then, and it is good for Belize now. Grandstanding, trifling, talking about they don't know what is in the loan documents. There's a standing order that deals with that, Madam President. It is Standing Order 38. It's called anticipation. There is no loan agreement. The negotiations are ongoing. And I want to go further, Senator Perry. You know, because I know who told you about it yesterday. Yes, you, right? The point is very simple. Legitimate issues were raised here today. Senator Salazar raised legitimate issues. Senator Bengoshe, Senator Herrera, Senator Salas, Senator Smith said that she had concerns, her organization had concern, they had not reached a point of satisfaction, and so they cannot support it. And I respect that. But don't come here with pseudo-patriotism and make people believe that you only to fight Ashcroft and only to concede to the man. Don't come here and pretend that you don't know what we're talking about when you all were consulted. Don't come here and pretend that you don't know.
Senator, can we please keep the
See, they were talking
disruption
earlier
down?
who can't stand the heat.
It has to
Get
be
it
on the
lashing
record,
now.
though, Madam President.
Senator,
That
if you
is
have
a
a
lie.
point, Senator, if you have a point, let it be on standing order, but can you please sit?
The point of order, Madam President,
Okay.
is that you can, what does this have to do with the ratification of the motion? Especially since you're reading imaginary text from imaginary people that we don't know. Call the names. Call the names of the people who you're reading from. You come and make that up last night, we don't know what you say. Call the names. If you believe that you have evidence, call the names. It is unfair for you to say that.
Madam President, he has spoken already, he has had his turn.
Can you, Senator, I've given you an opportunity. Can you please sit?
He said quite a lot. Call out a name. The thing says, I know the minister was to talk to AG yesterday. I'll get an update. That's what it said. And I am saying to you,
Nobody can talk to me about Ashcroft.
I am saying to
Again,
you,
I am asking Senator Murphy,
My
can you
apologies,
please?
Madam President. My apologies.
Thank you.
Ashcroft. Get your kicks in different ways. Madam President, I was saying, legitimate issues were raised, and those legitimate issues need to be addressed. The most important issue, as far as I am concerned, because I said it, was the question of the retroactive application. It is the intention of the government to ensure that it is done in such a way that it does not have retroactive application. That's what I said at the beginning. Senator Salazar has done some research. It is not complete, nor is our legal advice complete, but that is the intention and that is the basis on which we are going to ratify the convention. The position is very simple, Madam President, and I say to all senators, as I said at the very beginning, I will not breach my duty of confidentiality with respect to the negotiations. I will have this diplomatic note and the letter. I will have the senators on this side have sight of it. What I will say is the following. This motion has come here and now because it is part of the negotiations for a substantial debt relief for the country. It is also, Madam President, the intention of the government to ratify the convention in such a way, based on legal advice, that it is not to have retroactive application to any award already issued. That is the intention of the government. I ask, Madam President, that the question be put, and I thank those senators who have been constructive in their contributions and in their comments in the debate. Much obliged. Thank you, Madam President.
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the agreement between the Government of Belize and the Government of the United Arab Emirates on economic cooperation, hereinafter referred to as the agreement, was signed on the 9th October 2019 by the Government of Belize in Dubai, and whereas the agreement endeavors to develop and strengthen bilateral economic cooperation between Belize and the United Arab Emirates in the areas of trade in goods and services, investment, transport, agriculture, energy and renewable energy, industry and mining, infrastructure, construction and real estate and tourism. And whereas the Government of Belize is desirous of ratifying the agreement pursuant to Article 8 of the agreement, and whereas Section 61A(2)(a) of the Belize Constitution as amended by the Belize Constitution, 6th Amendment Act No. 13 of 2008, provides that the Senate shall authorize the ratification of any treaty by the Government of Belize. Now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the Government of Belize to ratify the agreement between the Government of Belize and the Government of the United Arab Emirates, a full text of which is here to annex. Madam President, the agreement is very short, it is very clear, it provides for deepening relations between Belize and the United Arab Emirates. It was signed in 2019, but the formality of ratifying it by Belize is outstanding, and it's brought here for us to complete that formality.
I recognize Senator Michael Perfy.
Madam President, unlike the previous motion, this one was indeed started by the previous government. I support it.
That the question be put.
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the agreement between the Caribbean Community and the Government of the Republic of Venezuela on trade and investment, hereinafter referred to as the agreement, which was signed on the 13th of October 1992 in Caracas, Venezuela, and whereas the objective of the agreement is to strengthen the economic and trade relations between the parties through the promotion and expansion of the sale of goods originating in CARICOM through inter alia one-way duty-free access to the Venezuelan market, the stimulation of investments aimed at taking advantage of the markets of the parties and strengthening their competitiveness in world trade, the facilitation of the creation and operation of regional joint ventures, and the encouragement of mechanisms for the promotion and protection of investments by nationals of the parties, And whereas the government of Belize is desirous of ratifying the agreement pursuant to Article 23 of the agreement, and whereas Section 61A2A of the Belize Constitution, as amended by the Belize Constitution 6th Amendment Act Number 13 of 2008, provides that the Senate shall authorize the ratification of any treaty by the government of Belize. Now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the agreement between the Caribbean community and the government of the Republic of Venezuela on trade and investment, a full text of which is hereto annexed. Again, Madam President, this, like the two subsequent agreements, are brought to the Senate to complete the formalities. We're doing a stock taking and in the Ministry of Foreign Trade, and there are a number of agreements that are lying there that this formality has not been completed. The interesting thing, of course, is that when these agreements were signed, the amendment to the Constitution had not yet been done, and therefore Senate ratification was not necessary, but still no instrument of ratification was sent, so we're cleaning up the formalities. Madam President, I ask that...
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the agreement on trade, economic, and technical cooperation between the Caribbean community and the government of the Republic of Colombia, hereinafter called the agreement, which was signed on the 24th July 1994 in Cartagena, Colombia, and its protocol, which was signed on the 21st May 1998 in Georgetown, Guyana. And whereas the objective of the agreement and its protocol is to strengthen trade and economic relations and technical cooperation between the parties through the promotion and expansion of the sale of goods originating in CARICOM and Colombia, with particular emphasis on exports from CARICOM states in the early stages of the implementation of this agreement, the promotion and protection of investments aimed at taking advantage of the opportunities offered by the markets of the parties and strengthening their competitiveness in the international market, the facilitation of the creation and operation of regional joint ventures, the development of technical and scientific cooperation activities which may be agreed upon between the parties, and the promotion of private sector activities, including business exchanges between the parties. And whereas the government of Belize is desirous of ratifying the agreement and its protocol pursuant to Article 26 of the agreement, and whereas Section 61A2A of the Belize Constitution, as amended by the Belize Constitution 6th Amendment Act Number 13 of 2008, provides that the Senate shall authorize the ratification of any treaty by the government of Belize. Now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the agreement on trade, economic, and technical cooperation between the Caribbean community and the government of the Republic of Colombia and its protocol, a full text of which is hereto annexed.
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report. I recognize the Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I move that whereas the agreement establishing the free trade area of the Caribbean community and the Dominican Republic, hereinafter referred to as the agreement, which was signed on the 22nd August 1998 in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and its protocol, which was signed on the 28th April 2000. And whereas the objectives of the agreement and its protocol are the establishment of a free trade area between the parties, the promotion and expansion of the sale of goods originating in the territories of the parties through inter alia, free access to the markets of the parties, elimination of non-tariff barriers to trade, and the establishment of a system of rules of origin, customs cooperation, and the harmonization of technical, sanitary, and phytosanitary procedures, the progressive liberalization of trade and services, the liberalization of the movement of capital between the parties, and the promotion and protection of investments, the promotion of the active participation of private economic agents, including the promotion and establishment of joint ventures, the promotion and development of cooperative activities in agriculture, mining, industry, construction, tourism, transportation, telecommunications, banking, insurance, capital market, professional services, and science and technology, and the discouragement of anti-competitive business practices between the parties. And whereas the government of Belize is desirous of ratifying the agreement and its protocol pursuant to Article 22 of the agreement and Article 11 of the protocol, and whereas Section 61A2A of the Belize Constitution, as amended by the Belize Constitution 6th Amendment Act number 13 of 2008, provides that the Senate shall authorize the ratification of any treaty by the government of Belize. Now therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the agreement establishing the free trade area between the Caribbean community and the Dominican Republic and its protocol, a full text of which are here to attach.
Honorable members, that motion is referred to the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee for examination, consideration, and report. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 68A, the Senate will now resolve itself into the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee, a committee of the whole Senate, to consider the motions referred to it. Honorable members, I will now take the chair as the chair of the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee. Honorable members, I now call to order the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee. Recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee has met and considered resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards, Motion 2021, and has agreed that it be returned back to the Senate for adoption. I therefore move that the question be put.
It is now, therefore, be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the United Nations Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards. All those in favor kindly say aye. Those against kindly say no. I think the ayes have it.
Madam President, I respectfully, under Standing Order 46.2, the word used there is challenge the opinion of the chair. So pursuant to that, Madam President, I ask for a division in the matter. I heard more no's than ayes just now.
Senator, as far as I can see, subsection 1 says at the conclusion of a debate.
Yes.
And that debate has been concluded as far as I am aware.
No, but this is the first question put, Madam President. With respect, it says here, at the conclusion, the President shall put that question to the decision of the Senate and shall collect the voices of ayes and those of noes, after which no further debate may take place. The result shall be declared by the President or the chairman stating, I think the ayes have it, or the noes have it, as the case may be. But any senator may challenge the opinion of the chair by claiming a division. So all I'm doing now, after the question is put and you have declared a position, all I'm doing, Madam President, is saying under 46.2 that I heard differently from what you're claiming, and I'm asking for a division.
I rise to say that Standing Order 46 is clear. At the conclusion of a debate, there is no debate held on a report back from the Committee of the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee.
Senator Michael Perfit, let me speak, please. Standing Order 46 specifically says at the conclusion of a debate. Upon any question, the President or Chairman shall put that question for the decision of the Senate and shall collect the voices of the ayes and of the noes, after which no further debate may take place upon that question. The result, subsection 2, the result shall be declared by the President or Chairman stating, I think the ayes have it, or I think the noes have it, as the case may be, but any senator may challenge the opinion of the chair by claiming a division. I quite understand that, and my interpretation is that there was a debate, and it was at the point of that debate that that question should have arisen. However, Senator, as I have said, the debate is over. We have gone through the committee stage, and it has been adopted by the committee, and now we are moving into the final adoption of the motion stage.
One more thing, Madam President,
Senator,
whatever decision you make is final, and I just want to make a plea to you to say one more thing.
I will give you the latitude, Senator.
Madam President, when the debate concluded, the chair said that the matter was to go to committee.
Yes.
When it went to committee, the question put to the committee was whether or not it should come back to the full Senate, technically speaking, for an open vote. The only time you said the ayes have it, Madam Chair, to the substantive matter out of the committee was just now. It is only after you have said the ayes have it or the noes have it, it is only at that point that I can challenge. I cannot challenge before. Because it says here, the result shall be declared by the president or chairman stating, I think the ayes have it, or I think the noes have it, as the case may be. But any senator may challenge the opinion of the chair by claiming a division. So it is after you have said, the ayes have it, Madam Chair, that's when I can challenge. I can't challenge before.
Again, my position is, Senator, that the debate has been concluded, and that would have been the point for you to have brought this up. We moved into committee, and now we are moving into the adoption of the motions. So again, I will read. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no.
No.
I think the ayes have it, Senator.
Can I rise again?
Resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the agreement between the government of Belize and the government of the United Arab Emirates on Economic Cooperation Motion 2021. I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee has met and considered the resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the agreement between the government of Belize and the government of the United Arab Emirates on Economic Cooperation Motion 2021 and has agreed that it be returned back to the Senate for adoption. I therefore move that the question be put.
Honorable members, the question is now, therefore, be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the agreement between the government of Belize and the government of the United Arab Emirates. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it. Resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the agreement between the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, and the government of the Republic of Venezuela on Trade and Investment Motion 2021. I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, if I may, I think if both leaders in the Senate agree, as far as I know, then we can adjust the rules. I would say that since there was no objection from us and no debate, that we adopt the rest of the resolutions as read. I would so propose.
And your proposal, I have no doubt, Honorable Senator, will have the ayes of the Senate.
I agree, Madam President. I would simply read the three of them together, Madam President, with your permission. Madam President, the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee has met and considered the resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the agreement between the Caribbean Community and the government of the Republic of Venezuela on Trade and Investment Motion 2021 and has agreed that it be returned back to the Senate for adoption. The Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee has met and considered the resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the agreement on trade, economic, and technical cooperation between the Caribbean Community and the government of the Republic of Colombia and its protocol motion 2021 and has agreed that it be reported back to the Senate for its adoption. The Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee has met and considered the resolution authorizing the ratification by Belize of the agreement establishing the Caribbean Free Trade Area between Caribbean Community and the Dominican Republic and its protocol motion 2021 and has agreed that it be returned back to the Senate for adoption. I therefore move that the question be put in relation to the three motions, Madam President.
Honorable members, the question is now, therefore be it resolved that the Senate authorizes the government of Belize to ratify the agreement between the government of Belize and the government of the United Arab Emirates, the agreement between the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, and the government of the Republic of Venezuela on trade and investment, the agreement on trade, economic, and technical cooperation between Caribbean Community, CARICOM, and the government of the Republic of Colombia and its protocol, and the agreement establishing the free trade area between the CARICOM Community, CARICOM, and the Dominican Republic and its protocol. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it. I recognize the leader of government business.
Madam President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn.
Honorable members, the question is that the Senate do now adjourn. All those in favor, kindly say aye. Those against, kindly say no. I think the ayes have it. The Senate now stands adjourned.